What's up, Bears fans? Happy Saturday to you. Hope you're enjoying your college football Saturday. I got the Frogs, TCU, baby, coming up here in about 30 minutes as I film this. But wanted to get a quick trade ideas mailbag out to you guys. I had you guys submit your trade ideas and on our YouTube community page. So thanks to everybody who did that. We'll go through a few of them here. I'll react, obviously. Fan base is upset. I'm still upset after the other night. You know, you could argue that you need to make some trades to help Justin Fields. You could argue that this team should start selling pieces and, getting more draft assets for next year. I could see both sides of it. Maybe you could do a little bit of both. We'll see what Ryan Pohl's approach ends up being just over 2 weeks away until the NFL trade deadline. Before we get to your questions, name a player the Bears should either trade for or trade away. Either way, if you want to trade for someone, let me know who that player is. If you want to trade someone away, Robert Quinn, Roquan Smith, whatever, let me know who that player is. Or if you want to name one of each, maybe you want to trade for DJ Moore and trade away Roquan Smith. That can work as well. So name a player the Bears should trade for and or trade away. Go ahead and light up the comment section. All right, we'll get things started here. 5 specific trade ideas, and then there were some loose questions, ideas around certain players that we'll talk about as well. Amos Goldberg's trade idea, he's first up. Appreciate the idea, Amos. Kadarius Toney from the Giants to the Bears for Robert Quinn and a 4th-round pick. Now, we'll talk and kind of speculate what Robert Quinn's value ends up being later on, but basically, you're saying that Quinn's value is so low that you have to throw a middle-round pick to get Kadarius Toney, a player who hasn't even been available this year. Super injury-prone. He's got locker room question marks, attitude question marks. The talent's undeniable. It's the player the Giants drafted at pick 20 last year from the Bears after they traded up to go get Justin Fields. And he's had a couple of nice games in his career, but he's been hurt a lot and he's been unreliable a lot. He's the type of player that if I knew he was going to be on the field, I would like to pair with Justin Fields and in this offense, but I just don't think he can be trusted. I don't see how you can go trade for Kadarius Toney and have any expectation whatsoever that he's going to be able to help your football team. So I'd have to pass on this one. If it was maybe a player-for-player swap, okay, but I'm not sending Robert Quinn and a pick for Kadarius Toney when I just have no idea what I'm getting in Toney at this point in time. Appreciate the question, though, Amos, or the idea, I should say. Louis V's trade idea, he's up next here. A lot of DJ Moore questions. I thought I'd focus on this one. DJ Moore for a 3rd-round pick and Robert Quinn. I think coming into this year, this trade this idea would potentially get it done. But with Quinn not doing much, only having 1 sack so far this year, is a 3rd plus an aging pass rusher to a team like Carolina that's probably entering a rebuild here, is that enticing enough? I don't know. I feel like they could do better. They'd probably rather just take a 2nd and no Robert Quinn than a 3rd and Robert Quinn, if that makes sense. If you're going to trade Robert Quinn, it's got to be to a contender, a team that feels like they're 1 pass rusher away from making a run deep in the playoffs. Carolina is not that team. So I think throwing Robert Quinn into any trade that's not a contender, it probably is a non-starter for most teams with his contract and with his age. But I do understand if you want to move on from Robert Quinn. He hasn't been what he was last year. He's an aging pass rusher. He has a lot of money left on his deal, so I could get that side of it. And I also understand the appeal of DJ Moore. I want DJ Moore. I told you guys on Friday's video, the video where I said, here's the truth about the 2022 Chicago Bears. Go check it out if you haven't already, that I think you should go get DJ Moore if you can. I wouldn't trade a 1st-round pick for him, but I would probably trade a 2nd and maybe even an additional pick as well. This offense needs help in a major way, and it's not just about this year. DJ Moore's under contract through 2025. Get him in this year. Start to build that chemistry with Fields, and then you enter the offseason with DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney as your top 2 guys, and then maybe you draft another receiver in the draft to try and pair with those 2. So I certainly get that. Hit that subscribe button. If the Bears make a trade, we will have a video about it. If it's a big enough trade, we will go live here on Chicago Bears Now. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button here on the channel. Help us grow. Even though the Bears are struggling, I'm bringing the heat every day with daily videos. So I appreciate the support we're getting from our 53,000 plus subscribers already. Let's get to $54,000, just over 200 and some change away. If you're a fan of the Bears, you will like this channel. All right, let's go to Sean Hawkins' trade idea. Another receiver one, Chase Claypool for a second-round pick. Second feels rich. He was drafted in the third round, and he's been pretty solid. 2 800-yard seasons in his first 2 years. Probably in that range this year, maybe a little less. That Steelers offense has struggled a bit. He's not a number one. Do I want to trade a second for Claypool? If I'm not willing to trade a first for DJ Moore, I'm probably not willing to trade a second for Chase Claypool. He was drafted in the third. I'd probably trade a third for him, but I don't think I would trade a second. The only way I would trade a second is if I got Claypool and then like a third back. You know what I'm saying? I'm at least getting a pick back, even if it's not a second for second type deal. Maybe you trade a second for Claypool and a third. You could talk me into that. But Claypool's been good, but he hasn't been, incredible by any means. So I don't think I would do this one, Sean, but if it's a third, probably in for sure. If it's a fourth, I would do it. We've talked about Claypool in the sense that big body guy, can play the slot, can play outside. Maybe he ends up being the odd man out. They already paid Deontay Johnson. They have George Pickens, who's getting a little bit better every week. Claypool may not be a guy they end up paying as he is entering the last year of his deal next year. He's got the rest of this year and next year under contract. So maybe this is a move down the road, but that would feel like a bit of an overspending type of move. Second for Claypool, I think I got to pass. Now, between DJ Moore and Chase Claypool, who would you rather trade for? Let me know. Type DJ for DJ Moore, type CC for Chase Claypool. I would rather have DJ Moore. I think he's a more proven player. I would rather bring him in here. He's going to cost you more, but I'm going to choose DJ. But if you disagree, type CC for Chase Claypool. A couple more receiver ideas here from DC Viper first. Kendrick Bourne from the Patriots, who the Bears will see in 9 days. Monday Night Football, a week from this Monday, for a 5th-round pick. That value feels right. Kendrick Bourne had an 800-yard season last year. Off to a slower start this year, but he's like to me, he's like a low-end 2, high-end number 3. I mean, he'd be this team's second-best receiver, at least right now, behind Darnell Mooney. I like him as a slot. If Mooney's your 2, Bourne's your 3, and, you find a 1 in the draft or in free agency next year, that's pretty adequate, but he's not really a top 2 guy. He's probably the Patriots' best receiver. Their receiving core is pretty bad, and if the Patriots want to get some draft capital, I would trade a 5th for Kendrick Bourne. I think that's good value, DC Viper, but I got to think New England's probably going to hang on to him. MC5's trade idea. This one's interesting. Hunter Renfrow to the Bears for a 3rd-round pick. Now, Renfrow had a great year last year. They call him Third and Renfrow out in Vegas. Not as good of a year this year. Missed a couple games with a concussion, but he's a nasty route runner, really good slot receiver now. He's strictly a slot, and today's NFL, most teams like guys who can move around, and in Renfrow's case, he's only going to line up in the slot, but he is one of the best pure slot receivers in the league. I mean, he's not quite a Wes Welker, but he's like a Cole Beasley, like peak Cole Beasley. He can catch 70 balls for 1,000 yards. I mean, he could be that type of guy in a good offense. You put him in the slot. Mooney's your number 2. You find an alpha male number 1. You're cooking with gas at that point. But if you think Renfro's going to come in here and be a number 1, that's not who he is. But 3rd-round pick for an elite slot. Okay, I'd rather trade a 3rd for Renfrow than a 2nd for Claypool, I think. I would say that. So, pretty interesting one there from NC5. All right, so those are 5 specific trade ideas involving 2 teams. Rob sent in a trade idea. He said trade Justin Fields for a 2nd-round pick and then draft a quarterback next year. Then a lot of people replied, and people went back and forth. They were debating this on our community posts. Couple thoughts. Number 1, there is 0 chance they trade Justin Fields at the trade deadline. Number 1, what team would trade for him right now to come in and start? I think a team that would trade for him would probably kind of groom him as a backup behind a veteran, and then maybe he starts next year. Indianapolis. Say they trade for him. They don't think Matt Ryan has it anymore. Fields is their guy next year. That could be an example. But the Bears aren't trading him. They're going to evaluate him this year. And by the way, everyone who keeps saying, maybe Trevor Siemian would be a better option, you want to put Trevor Siemian behind this offensive line right now. I mean, think about how many plays per game is Fields escaping with his legs and making something happen? At least 5 or 6, if not more. I mean, you need his mobility, and we got to see what this guy is. Even if you're already out on Fields, I would hope that you understand that playing him the rest of the season is the smartest thing for this franchise at minimum. I think ideally he continues to get better and better. I know they only scored 7 points, but this offense put up 400 yards the other day. If they can just clean up the red zone crap, I told you guys, if Fields starts making the layups, he can do the hard stuff pretty well. If by the end of the season he's cleaned up the easy stuff, then you build around him, and you hope next year is the takeoff year. And then if it's not, the pieces you built around him with, they're still there. You go get another quarterback in 2024. I think that's the most ideal scenario for where this franchise is right now. Trading him doesn't make sense. I don't think there's any chance it happens. Would you trade Justin Fields? Let me know. Type T for trade or K for keep. I'm hammering K for keep. I don't think trading him right now makes any sense whatsoever. We need more evaluation. And by the way, if you trade him right now, you're not getting a first-round pick, which is what you spent on him. So I think keeping him is the only foot forward. Let's see how the rest of this year goes. And unless it's a disaster the rest of the way, I think build around him this offseason. Did get questions about Roquan Smith, too. One guy was like, trade him for a first if you can. I don't think you're getting a first. I mean, he's on the final year of his rookie contract. He's playing good, but not great. Like, he's clearly not having the best year of his career. What game was it? That Texans game where he dominated? Other than that, he's been pretty up and down. I mean, he's missed some critical tackles. He doesn't have an interception yet this year. Had a nice sack of Carson Wentz, but also got leveled by Carson Wentz on that one play. That was not good. So, I like Roquan. I said it a couple weeks ago. I think it's starting to look like the Bears made the right call to just let this year play out with Roquan and then make a decision. But, I mean, would you take a second for him at the deadline? I don't think you're getting a first. I might take a second. Now, your linebacking core is going to be brutal if you do that. Like, you trade Roquan, you're resetting at linebacker completely. I mean, completely. So that becomes a need this offseason. So, that's the risk as well. Franchise tag probably seems like the most likely scenario. We'll see where this goes with Roquan. Robert Quinn, I have no idea what his trade value is right now. I think coming into the season, you're probably looking at like a third-round pick. Great year last year, but aging pass rusher, not the best contract. Kind of topsy-turvy career. Some years he's great, some years he's not. This year he's not been. I mean, like 5th right now? 6th? I don't think you're getting a 3rd, maybe a 4th if a team gets desperate enough. You really need Quinn to put together a nice game or two before the deadline, because based on what we've seen so far, he's been, your 3rd best edge rusher behind Gibson and Dominique Robinson, who have been better. I know he's getting more attention. I get that. But at the same time, he's not what he was last year. He's closer to what he was his first year than he was last year. And that's not trending great. So really need him to step up, having a couple of nice games. That way, if the Bears do want to trade him and get something, maybe they can get a 4th or 5th. But right now, I mean, maybe you only get a 6th. I don't know. I'll be real curious to see if he gets traded, what the value ends up being for Robert Quinn. All right. Shout out your college team. Type TCU to wish me luck. Top 15 matchup against Oklahoma State. Kicking off in about 15 minutes here. My invisible watch. Got my phone here. 15 minutes here. Go Frogs, baby. If you're an Illinois fan, they're playing well. I think they're winning right now. I can check the score real quick for you guys. I know there's a lot of Ohio State, Michigan fans. Michigan was starting to pull away from Penn State. I'll get some scores updated here as we go. I'm a big college football guy. Michigan 34-17 with 8 minutes left. They're going to win that game. You got Illinois just won 26-14. So a couple Big Ten scores here. TCU Oklahoma State. Go check it out. ABC 2:30 Central Time. Right as I publish this video, it'll about to be kicking off. All right. Thanks for the support. Hopefully the Frogs win. Hopefully the Bears can figure some things out during this mini bye week. I will be back tomorrow with another video. We'll see you then. Bear down. Go Frogs. Enjoy your weekend.